We aren't designed to be jacking off to people having sex. It's weak in the real world, and it is a precursor to cuckoldery. If you know anything about me, you know I am so vocal about the practice of meditation in relation to gaining emotional control. Or you can look at this as training your prefrontal cortex and having more jurisdiction and authority over your limbic system. Now, this is a tangible difference that you will experience in your day-to-day in terms of emotional regulation when you do this consistently. Like any other muscle, if you went to the gym and did 5 pull-ups, you did 5 pull-ups every single day of the week, the next week you might be able to do 6, and then 7, and then 8, and then so on and so on. Same thing with the mind. Now, irrespective of the addiction that you have also. Now, specifically, I'm going to be speaking about the addiction to pornography and adult content, which is a plague, which is a parasite in the lives of most modern Western men. And this individual on the meditation forum, of all places, says that he is losing interest in pornography due to his meditation. And I clicked on this very, very fast because it's the truth. It's the sentiment from what I'm trying to convey to you today. So let's read through his post. I'm going to read through some of the answers and the responses, which are very illuminating, enlightening, and hopefully by the end of this, I will have convinced you. And the men and maybe women in this Reddit post will have convinced you that you need to be doing meditation daily. You need to be making love to it. So, hi, hello, maleficent work. I have been meditating for around 4 weeks now, and I have recently noticed that watching pornography isn't so interesting anymore. Is this a result of meditation and becoming more clear-minded? Yes, my friend, and no. But before I add a little bit more color, let's see what the world has to say. Absolutely, you start to remove the filters and focus more on understanding who you are. I've gone through the very same thing. I hope you continue to progress. This is where it's at, says the mechanical Bengal. As the path becomes clear, the pit stops become less attractive. What a very poetic way to explain it. And I think perhaps it isn't the first way I would like to portray this particular insight of mine, but it has its roots in deep spiritual connotations. Let me say it again. The pit stops become less attractive. This is a distraction. This is something that is obscuring you from the fruits of your path, of the journey, of the experience that you are having in life. No father, no CEO, no community contributor is obsessed with this kind of material because it falls very low on the rung of the ladder of what they would like to achieve in life. And you can substitute this for any addiction in your life. Now, I'm not saying there isn't a opportunity to experience pleasure now and again, but you have to remember the inherent nature of pleasure. Pleasure is cheap. Pleasure is finite, it's fleeting, it's very, very unsatisfactory, unsatiating. And you should be seeking joy instead, which is the pursuit of your path. Your path becomes clearer. Your vocation, your purpose, whatever you want to call it, is the truth of what you're doing. And you cannot expect to get there if you are entertaining things on the road. And people who lack this purpose will distract themselves with pleasure. Let me say that again. If you are distracting yourself with pleasure, it's because you're missing purpose. You need to find the other P. Let's keep going because Suman says here, seeing things for what they are. Seeing things for what they are in and of themselves. Your ability to discern becomes so much more potent. You perhaps begin to even become compassionate. I know I went down this particular thought pattern where I recognize that these other people on the screen are just other people, other souls, tormented souls. You hear the term hurt people, that perhaps they've come, more than likely they've come from broken homes, drug addiction, abuse, physical violence, and here I am perpetuating and pouring my energy and my soul into a system that is predicated on abuse, on these lower negative emotions that torment the human soul in and of themselves. It's haram, it's forbidden, it's the work of the devil, if you're really going to go down the Christian Judeo perspective of things. I've seen that analogy made. I see the truth behind it. You see things for what they are. You see it as something that repulses you. There's something called the disgust reflex. It's innate. It's inherently ingrained and dulled and written into our bones in our DNA because it has associations with how can I assure paternity? How can I assure I'm not going to get a disease or an STD? You're putting yourselves in the environment where you experience that kind of innate reflex. You see things for what they are. You get past this. You get past your own brainwashing. You get past your friends at the pub saying, oh, it's okay to watch pornography. I do it all the time. I'm not hurting anybody. It's normal. It's completely normal, brother. Don't stress about it. It's all we've got. See it for what it is. Paul Thumpkins says, if you're more mindful, you're probably less likely to fall for those kinds of squirrel distractions. He's referencing their impulsivity. This is the limbic system. It's impulsive. It's reflexive. It's reactive. But if you have top-down control, which means you have greater strength and structures in the gray matter of your prefrontal cortex, then you'll be able to see that impulse and go, no, be mindful. I have control over this animal. Whether it be pornography or going to get a snack or soda or putting YouTube on your phone when you're supposed to be working. Are you supposed to be working, gentlemen? Hey, I'm educating you here. Or fidgeting with a pen cap or whatever, you'll be enjoying the experience of being a lot more, and you will probably be more likely to get serotonin through doing these things than just pushing your pleasure buttons to feel inner silence. I couldn't have put it better than myself, Paul. There's a difference between chasing dopamine, pleasure, quick hit, quick high, and serotonin, joyful, fulfilling, satiating, permeating the body and permeating the soul, being present, being here now, being with the universe, being with the cosmos, being with God. Well, you probably have tapped into your subconscious and you have left your primitive state, for lack of better words. It's a good thing. I quite agree with you, Crafty. I concur. We aren't designed to be jacking off to people having sex. It's weak in the real world, and it is a precursor to cuckoldery. Subconsciously, you know it's a bitter end and fruitless, and you will lose energy and essence in the process. Follow the new brain. Follow your prefrontal cortex. Follow the masculine essence of the mind, which is the one that regulates and creates rules and says no. It creates boundaries. That's what the masculine does. It creates boundaries. It's actually innately feminine to be addicted, to relapse, to be impulsive. It's controlled by the limbic system. That's the female part of the brain. Again, no, I suppose there are negative connotations I'm giving here, but I hope you're getting my point here. You want control. Your mind is getting cleaned up and rejecting the garbage or the trash, as the Americans will say, as your awareness grows. Having a clear mind enough not to enjoy porn grants you a clear mind in social scenarios, since you won't have that primitive brain activated. You start to see women for who they are as people instead of who they are in service to your sexual gratification. And also that perspective change makes you interact with them differently, more intelligently. And ultimately, if it is your desire to have a relationship with them, you find you're easier able to navigate to that outcome because you aren't impulsive, because you aren't reactive, because you have control, because you are stoic, because you are masculine, because you are powerful. Separate ad includes, I've had the same result, but with scrolling social media without any purpose, really mind got more clear. I mentioned before, It doesn't just have to be adult entertainment. It doesn't have to be pornography. It can be cocaine. It can be Xanax. It can be weed. It can be scrolling on social media. That limbic system is out of control for a lot of people. People don't have the reins on the limbic system, on the feminine part of their mind. They're just letting it run wild. We live in a very effeminate culture, as Elliot Holst would say. Here comes the tool, the practice that you need in order to gain back control over that animal. It is meditation. It is disciplining your mind. It's when you want to stop meditation and grab for the phone or think of something else, it's no. Be here now. Control the animal. We're sitting down right now. We're focusing on our breath. We're strengthening our control. We are getting stronger, realizing that everyone is an emanation of yourself and probably a relative of yours in the past. Another way I like to approach this, or something I've heard before, is think about the people on the screen as your brother, as your sister, because they are in another life. You share the same DNA, the same human DNA. Is it really becoming of you to gratify yourself to them in compromising positions, which were usually from the outcome of some kind of abuse? Physically, sexually, emotionally, spiritually. Nothing could be a more karmic weight on your soul. And gentlemen, I think that's a good point to conclude on. I find myself saying more and more, these are never theories, these are all facts. Speak soon.